Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this one, it is the captaincy model video. So what we're going to do is look at how the captaincy model fared last week and then look at the numbers for this week. Last week's numbers are on screen now, as you can see. Salah was top by quite some margin, to be honest. And he actually only managed 6 points, which is probably quite disappointing for those that did captain, especially given that other players did a lot more, as you can see. The one kind of shock maybe was that Haaland wasn't in the top three, albeit he was pretty much equal with Palmer anyway. But regardless, all of the top four actually returned. Going back on Salah, to be honest, he was pretty unlucky. I mean, Liverpool, scored 3 goals, so you can't be too kind of annoyed at it if you did captain Salah, although granted, he didn't get that involved really in many of the goals, obviously. Son with 10 points did the best out of the top 3, and then Palmer was in third. Palmer could have had a lot more actually in that game. West Ham were just absolutely dreadful. Then Haaland in fourth with 9 points. Obviously, he scored a goal. He got 3 bonus points. Fifth was Jota, who got 0 points. Obviously, he didn't play, so got the X minutes wrong on that one. Darwin played instead of him. Trent in sixth. Trent was always due a haul, to be honest. Like, Liverpool have looked pretty good defensively, so clean sheets were always going to kind of happen, but the attacking return linked with the clean sheet was always coming for him. Nice 11 points. Watkins gets his goal and manages 6 points. Not kind of a groundbreaking score by any means, but as I've mentioned in previous videos on the captaincy model, it seems to be quite low on forwards in general. As you can see in this list, there's only 3 forwards: Haaland, Watkins and João Pedro. So, and it's always been low on Isak, which turns out it's not been incorrect results-wise, because Isak hasn't done a great deal. But in general, it's been pretty low on Isak. And to be honest, 80 minutes, Wolves at home for Watkins, that puts him in 7th. That is pretty low compared to other people's expectations and other models. Then we had Eze, Man United at home, 4.83 projected points, and he only managed 3 points. He had 2 very, very good chances that he should have done much better with, so he could have walked away with a lot more points. And then João Pedro came off the bench for 1 point, and KDB didn't play at all. I did this video last week and the X minutes before we knew about KDB's injury, so he would have dropped out and somebody else would have probably come in for him. I think I mentioned in last week's videos that players that were close were Isak, Diaz was close, and I believe Bruno Fernandes was quite close as well. So if it would have been Diaz in 10th, that would have been great. But regardless, the number 1 position in the model returns for the 5th week in a row. So pretty happy with the results. Let's look at the game week 6 numbers now. Okay, on to the game week 6 numbers now. And as you can see, it's pretty tight at the top this week, unlike most other weeks, to be honest. But I guess that comes with quite a lot of the top teams having good fixtures. So Salah is in first with Wolves away 6.84, but only 0.4 behind him is Saka with Leicester at home. Then only 0.4 behind him is Haaland, and then only about 0.2 behind him is Palmer. So the top 4 is all pretty close. It's within around 1 projected point as such. Fernandes in 5th, and Mbomo in 6th, Trent in 7th, Havertz in 8th, 9th is Eze, and 10th is Diaz. So in terms of surprises, maybe the fact that Watkins has missed out, but again, like I've said, the model seems to be pretty low on forwards in general. As you can see in this one, there's only 2 in there. So Haaland, I don't think it's going to be low on Haaland regardless, although this week you could say it is pretty low. Maybe he's a standout. Also, Havertz has as good a fixture as he can get. and he's only 8th in there. So the model is generally just low on forwards. So yeah, Watkins isn't on there. Another surprise potentially is that Fernandes is in 5th, although yes, many of his owners and even people that don't own him will look at that and say like that's ridiculously high, like he's been so disappointing so far this season. But underlying numbers wise, he hasn't really been that disappointing, so it doesn't surprise me too much that he's high. Mbomo is probably going to be a fixture in this top 10 for quite a while now that he pretty much has guaranteed minutes and is on penalties, and Brentford have good fixtures. He will be high up on this list most weeks, I'd say. Whether he will actually get up and challenge the likes of Haaland, Saka, Salah, Palmer, who knows. But yeah, he will be in here quite a lot. As with Trent, it's another good fixture. In terms of the expected minutes, the top 6 are all kind of not too dissimilar in X minutes. So Salah 86, I still don't think it's only a 2 minutes different, 2 expected minute difference between him and Haaland, but I still don't think he is this 90-minute man that he was in previous years. I think Arne Slot will rotate, and I think that will include Salah. I don't know who it will be used out there. Maybe it'll be Chiesa when Salah needs a rest, or I'm not necessarily saying he won't start, but I do think we could see around the Champions League some earlier subs, not necessarily like a Diaz 60th minute sub, but maybe between 70 to 80 minutes, we could see Salah come off and rested for someone like Chiesa potentially. So he's not up there at an 88 as some of the other players are. Saka, he always seems to come off with a niggle. I mean, the game against City at the weekend, it was more game state, it seemed, given that they went down to 10 men. So he decided to keep Martinelli on, I think. I don't think there was much between that. I don't think there was any injury for Saka this week, but he always seems to have some sort of niggle and comes off within the last 10 minutes. So I've given him 84. Haaland just seems to be playing 90 minutes at the moment, so he has 88. Palmer got a very early sub this week. I don't think that will be a common theme for Palmer. We've seen that he's not been included in the European squad for Chelsea, so he won't be playing those midweek games, meaning that the majority of his minutes will come in the Premier League. So I haven't dropped his expected minutes below 80 because, like I say, I don't think that's going to be a common theme. But I don't think it will be up there with 88 and what have you, because they've just got so many good players on the bench. The likes of Pedro Neto, João Felix and Kunku will all get minutes. Then we've got Bruno Fernandes. He will just pretty much play 90 most games. Apart from that 1 week where he did come off a bit early, he will almost always play 90 minutes. And Mbomo, exactly the same. He's up there with Haaland and Fernandes. He's just got the minutes, so that's not a problem. Trent's a weird one. The last couple games we've seen him play more minutes, but he had been getting subbed off for Conor Bradley a little bit at the start of the season. We could see that a bit more again, given that there is Champions League fixtures now. So I think 80 is probably fair. If anything, maybe a tiny bit low, but I think it's fair. Havertz is on 87, I've put him. This week, I'd say he's almost guaranteed for 90 minutes, pretty much, because Trossard is obviously suspended. Odegaard is out injured, we think. So Havertz kind of will fill that position, whether it be in midfield or up front. To be honest, it doesn't make too much difference for Havertz because they kind of play, when it was Havertz and Trossard, they kind of both play in the same position. Neither of them are that much higher than the other. So we might see something slightly different as they'll have to bring someone else in. Whether they bring in a different midfielder and let Havertz be the striker, or whether they bring in Gabriel Jesus to be the striker and then Havertz is the midfielder, he'll still be high regardless, I think. So, and yeah, I don't see a world where he doesn't start that game, given that they don't have many other options at this point. So 87 minutes seems fair for him. Eze is another one of these that's kind of similar to Fernandes and Mbomo. He just will get the minutes, so 88 is there for him. Diaz, I haven't changed his minutes from last week. I think the 67 is kind of fair. We will see him coming off around 60. We will see him coming off in the 70 minutes. So this is a kind of midpoint, and I think that's pretty fair. He's still top 10 even on 67 minutes. So if you think he gets like an 80 minutes or something, then he's probably much higher on this list. But yeah, there's not much between the top few players. Salah is top, Saka is second, Haaland is third, and Palmer is fourth. But to be honest, talking about Haaland, I think Haaland, most people will think that he should be higher. And I think this is a common thing that we see with models and analytics, is that I don't know what the kind of correct word is, but they adjust slower than an eye test would to opposition teams or just teams in general. So someone like Newcastle away, last season or the season before, that would have been seen as a bad fixture, a difficult fixture. The Newcastle defence was good season before last. And last season it was quite bad, but it wasn't like horrendously bad. This season we've seen Newcastle play terribly for 5 game weeks. They've been awful. And yes, the models and analytics side of things will be adjusting for that. They will probably adjust a lot slower than what the human intuition would. So yeah, that Newcastle away fixture isn't as bad as it seems because they've been quite terrible. So maybe it is not too different to a Wolves away fixture, for example, like Salah's got, in which case you may think that Haaland is a better option. And to be honest, I don't have Salah in my team. I have Saka and I have Haaland. So for me, that is going to be quite a difficult decision, I think. So yeah, that's this week's numbers. If you think I've got any of these expected minutes wrong, then do let me know. And yeah, let me know in the comments. But for this one, that is all, and I'll see you in the next one.